Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our program. My name is Taylor, and I will be your host today. We are so happy to have you join us for this presentation on the 5 early literacy practices based off of Every Child Ready to Read. This presentation will be geared towards caregivers with little ones ages 3 to 5, also known as preschoolers. Now, before we begin, I would like to mention 3 important actions that you can do to be able to fully enjoy all of the resources that the library has to offer. 1. Caregivers. Your child is never too young to sign up for their own library card. You and your child can visit ocls.info/get your card for more information and sign up soon after the presentation. 2. Sign up for Beanstack. Beanstack is a really fun interactive platform where you can access book recommendations, you can log your reading minutes, and you can access different reading challenges to motivate you and your little ones to continue to read throughout the month. You can create a free account at ocls.beanstack.org. 3. Register to attend our virtual events. Visit ocls.events and see a listing of all of our events coming up in the next month and beyond, including those that utilize the early literacy practices that we'll be covering in today's presentation. All right, I am very excited to introduce our host for today, our presenter for today, Miss Nora Lees. All right, I'd like to go ahead and give her a big welcome. Hi, Miss Nora Lees. Welcome.
Hey Taylor, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited for your presentation. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right. Well, caregivers, after we go through the presentation, we'll go ahead and host a Q&A with our presenter, Miss Nora Lees. So if you do have any questions, feel free to write them out in the chat, and we will answer them at the end of our presentation.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm so happy to be here this morning. I hope you all at home or wherever you are having a good day. Like Miss Taylor mentioned, my name is Miss Nora Lees, and I will be giving you a presentation on some very good information that you hopefully can put into practice fairly quickly if you haven't been already. So give me a moment. We're going to share our PowerPoint here. And then we're going to start things off. As Miss Taylor mentioned, this is Every Child Ready to Read, and specifically geared to those caregivers who have preschoolers at home or even at a job, at school, wherever you are. If you work with preschoolers, these skills and tips that we're going to be given today are going to be great for you to put into practice with them. Now, we do want to go over some workshop goals. Some things that we're going to go over today are the 5 early literacy practices. We are hoping that you are able to put into practice all of the tips and activities that we're going to share today. We are also going to demonstrate or even talk about some book selections that we would do with preschoolers. And then at the end, we are going to share some helpful resources that you can access with a library card. So make sure that if you haven't had the opportunity to get a library card, that you do that so that you could take advantage of all of the resources that we have. All right. Now, the first thing that we want to explain and talk just briefly are the 5 early literacy skills. So those are playing, reading, writing, singing, and talking. Now, these are very basic, simple skills that all of our programming and everything that goes behind interacting with a preschooler is founded on. We love to play with them. Reading is, really big. Writing, singing, and all of these go together. And so today we are going to break them up, and we are going to talk to them about them on their own, and then also give some tips on them too. So the first one is talking. It is one of my favorite ones to do. It is my go-to one because it is easy and you do it naturally. So it is so important that when you are talking to your preschoolers, that you're talking to them as you were talking to an adult, that you're not sugarcoating any words or saying them in any different way, because they're in a stage in their life where they need to learn new vocabulary. So oftentimes, as grown-ups, and we're talking to younger children, we will, let's say they're having a meal, and we would probably say, oh, wow, this meal is good. Well, sometimes we want to switch that up to expand the vocabulary, and maybe say, wow, this meal is delicious. And so there's just different ways to say different things. And it's important that we always keep that at the back, of our mind, so that we're always helping our little ones grow and expand their vocabulary. Talking can happen in the supermarket. Talking can happen at home while you are, bathing them or changing them, or even if you're gardening outside. Talking can happen anywhere. You can talk about anything that you're doing at the moment. You can talk about anything that's happening in the future, or even share stories of things that have happened in the past. So talking is just a really, really good opportunity for not only to expand their vocabulary, but to also allow them to look at their surroundings, see what's happening, and have a really good conversation with you. So, oftentimes when we're doing our programs for preschoolers, or we're just having a conversation with them, we'll ask open-ended questions, which means we'll ask for their opinion, and we'll ask them to finish what maybe we're thinking, or what do you think this should be, or how do you think this should look, or what do you think this is called? It's just overall a really good opportunity to have with your kids. Now, there are some books that we like to recommend. If you're looking for books because you just want to sit down and you don't want to read word for word, which really any book that you pick up at your local library, you don't have to read word for word, cover to cover. You could just look at the illustrations. But we do have here on the screen some examples. We have green, and this one is about the color green. And it's one of my favorite ones because if you go outside, you'll probably see a lot of green, a lot of trees. Maybe you'll spot a car that is green, or a building that is green. And it just talks about the color green and the shapes and forms that it comes in. So another one that I love, and I actually recently read this for a group of preschoolers, is Good Night Gorilla. Now, this is a wordless picture book. There are no words in it, or you'll probably find just greetings in it. There aren't much dialogue. And the whole point, or the goal while you're going through all of the pages, is to look at the illustrations and come up with your own story. So you, as the caregiver, can actually read the story with in your own words with your child, and then you can read it a second time and tell your preschooler, oh, well, can you read the story? What do you think happened, while you look at the illustrations? And this is a really, really sweet and silly story. As you see here, we have a little gorilla up in the front, and it looks like he took the zookeeper's keys. And so to read what happens in the story, we'd love to encourage you to check this story out and have a moment with them looking at the illustrations. Now, another book that I want to highlight, again, you'll probably hear me say that all of these books are my favorite. They do have a special place in my heart and when I'm talking to preschoolers, but this one here is Pete the Cat and his 4 Groovy Buttons. Our goal every day with preschoolers, and I bring it up with this book specifically, is to really talk about the things they need to know when they're going into kindergarten. So they have a lot to learn going into kindergarten, but one of the main things that they need to learn is counting, a little over 5, and so we'll go up to 10, we'll go up to 15 as well, counting shapes and colors, and then when we check out books that have these essential skills that they need to learn for kindergarten in them, we ask them questions. What color is that? What shape is that? What number is that? Can you count up to that number? And what I love about Pete the Cat and his 4 Groovy Buttons is he has 4 buttons, and it is a math book. And they count down and they add numbers together. How many does he have left? And there are so many opportunities in this book as well for you to interact with your preschooler as you read. So these are just some, books that we like to recommend that you check out so that you can start having some conversations and use books as a tool. The next one that we want to talk about, so that was talking, this is singing. And these are some benefits of singing with your child. Now, before we get into those, you're probably saying, well, I'm just not the best singer in the world, and I'm not really good at holding a tune. That's okay. Your preschooler isn't looking for the best singer or anything like that. They're just looking to connect with you. They're looking to grow with you, and they're looking to have a good time with you. So always try to keep those things in mind when you are reading with when you are singing and kind of playing around with your preschooler. One thing that we do like to remember is that when you sing with your preschooler, it breaks down language. So, if you're singing twinkle, twinkle, like they could hear all of the syllables and the words that they're singing, which is really good for them to learn. So, try it out. It doesn't even have to be a song that, that's on the radio or anything like that. Just a song that either you made up or a lullaby or a rhyme that you've done with your child when they were younger. It also helps children learn new words and information, which is really, really important in their development. It helps children develop listening skills and learn how to follow directions. Usually with preschoolers, I'll do songs, which in the next slide or so, we will do a song together where they have to follow directions, where it's the hokey pokey, or it's If You're Happy and You Know It, or some other ones that we know too. And they will follow instructions. They'll follow directions, whatever you tell them to do, whether it's a repeat after me or sing along with me. These are all really, really good things that you can do with your preschooler. So remember, preschoolers still enjoy nursery rhymes. You may look at your preschooler and say, no, you're too old for nursery rhymes. And that's not true. They love nursery rhymes. Why? Because they're familiar with them. Ever since they were an infant, a baby, their caregiver has been singing these songs with them. So now that they're older, they want to show it off, and they want to let the world know that they know a song and can sing it from start to finish. So don't be afraid. Don't steer away from those nursery rhymes, okay? Now you can sing silly camp songs as well, and those will be super fun. Usually that's a call and response kind of thing happening. And they're also really good to transition from activities. So if you're like at home and then you're on your way to the supermarket, for example, you could perhaps sing The Wheels on the Bus or The Wheels on the Car Go Round and Round. Those are really good ways to transition from one activity to the next. So singing is also very, very important. Now, I would love to invite you all to sing a song together with me. It is one that we are all very familiar with, and if you're not familiar with it, then we can definitely learn it together today. So if your child is with you watching this presentation, or even if they're a little aside because you were like, no, this is for the caregiver today, invite them to come close so that we can sing this song together. And I want to invite you to interact with your child as you do this. Don't just sit down and have them sing after me or with me, but also sing the song at home or wherever you are with your child and do everything with them. One thing we like to tell our caregivers is that you are their best teacher. So you are the person that models the best behavior that you would like to see in them, whether it's following instructions like we're going to do here in this song. So we're going to sing If You're Happy and You Know It. And please join me. We're going to clap our hands, and then we're going to stomp, and then we're going to shout hooray, and then we're going to do all three. So you'll notice we'll do one movement, and then towards the end of it, we're going to try to make it a little more challenging. So we'll slow things down, okay? All right, friends, here we go. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Nice job. Okay, caregivers and little ones out there, can we stomp our feet? Show me how to stomp your feet. Oh, can we stomp our feet really fast? Ready? Fast, fast. Good job. Very good. Okay, if you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. Stomp, stomp. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. Stomp, stomp. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet. Stomp, stomp. Nice job. Very good. Okay, now we're going to shout hooray, okay? Here we go. If you're happy and you know it, shout hooray, hooray! If you're happy and you know it, shout hooray, hooray! If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, shout hooray, hooray! Good job. All right, we got all warmed up. Now we're going to do all three. So we're going to clap, clap, stomp, stomp, hooray. Okay, here we go. If you're happy and you know it, do all three. Clap, clap, stomp, stomp, hooray. If you're happy and you know it, do all three. Clap, clap, stomp, stomp, hooray. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, do all three. Clap, clap, stomp, stomp, hooray. Good job, everyone. Thank you so much for singing with me. That was so much fun. You know, while I was singing the song with you all, it made me think of how I was feeling. Oftentimes, we can talk to our children about their emotions. And this is actually a really good song to switch up a little bit to talk about emotions. You can do if you're happy and you know it. You can do hooray. If you're sad and you know it, you can go boo hoo hoo hoo. You can change it all up. If you're relaxed and you know it, take a deep breath. All of these different ways that you can sing songs that you already know and are familiar with it. So try it with your child. Now, of course, we do have books that have a little beat to them or a really cool rhyme to them. And one of them that I want to share with you today is Little White Duck. And the little tune, The Little White Duck Swimming in the Water. And it's a really fun book that you can read with your child and even sing along to a little tune. It does have the notes inside. And different kind of animals and bugs around the pond come out, so you can discuss what animal and talk about what animal has come up and sing the song and dance along as you read the book. Another one here is the Animal Boogie, which of course has kids get up and move around and dance. Another really good one. And this one was written by Debbie Harter. And actually, The Little White Duck, I'll bring it back, was written by Walt Whippo. So we do have one more here, which is really fun to read. It is titled Groovy Joe, Ice Cream and Dinosaurs. Who doesn't like ice cream? I love ice cream. In fact, my favorite ice cream is strawberry ice cream, unless I get super fancy and I put some other toppings in them. But love them. And dinosaurs are so cool to learn about. But this is kind of like a little jig and a little dance that you could do with your kids as you sing the book. And some of the books that you can get at your local library will come with a CD that you can play as you read the book as well. So take advantage of all these resources. If you can't think of something to do with your child, we have your back. You can check out the materials here at the library. All right. Our next one that we want to talk about is reading. So reading is, a fantastic skill. And yes, they do need to know just the basic skills going into kindergarten. Oftentimes, I like to point out letter recognition. So sing the ABC songs as many times as you'd like throughout the day. Letter recognition is so, so important. And if you want them to identify with a letter, start with the first letter of their name. My name is Norley, so I would probably think of things that start with the letter N, and maybe come up with a silly song that starts with the letter N. Or when I sing the ABCs, I'll pause on my letter and make a great shout and celebrate because it's my letter. It's the one that starts with my name. So letters turn into words, and words turn into sentences, and then sentences will make a really, really awesome book, an awesome read. So Focus on those letters. Letter recognition will encourage your children to have fun throughout the pages. So sharing reading is the single most important thing you can do to help your child get ready to read. Now, we do have some tips that we want to share with you today, and it is that we recommend that you read about 20 minutes a day. So this doesn't have to happen in one time. This can happen throughout the day. If you read in the morning at breakfast time, then you kind of sat down for lunch and you read a little more, 10 minutes, and then you read before bed 10 minutes. Well, you've done, your time there. But just make sure that you're exposing them to books, that you are exposing them to words and letters so that they can continue to grow that very, very important skill. Let your child choose the books they want to read. Oftentimes, as parents, we want to select right off the first visit the best book that they can read. But really, the best book that your child can read is one that they're interested in, not one that the caregiver chose. Why? Because their attention span will be much longer than a book that you probably selected for them. So ask them what books do they want to read about, or what's their favorite subject. You'd be surprised. You can find books these days on any subject. If they have a favorite TV show, the library probably has a book on it as well. And if we don't, we will work on, getting things in our collection so that we can help your child develop these very, very important skills. Involve your child in reading anything that's repetitive, that you have to repeat after, or that you're going to read again in the next page. Those are really good books that you want to pick up for your child as well. Now, if you've ever asked yourself, what books should I be reading with my child? So rhyming text, things that rhyme, things that they can follow. We do have 5 Busy Beavers here as a book suggestion. It's really great. The beavers are, having a very busy day, but after every page, there's a rhyming word. And so that's really good because they're also learning new words and learning about the concept that there are rhyming words as well. Froggy Gets Dressed is a fantastic story that you all can read with your preschoolers. These are books that have predictable outcomes. So even though it may not be the outcome at the end of the book, but if you turn the page, you know what's going to happen. He's going to forget something else he needs to put on. And Mama's going to yell out the window, "Froggy!" And he's going to come back and do it all over again. It's repetitive and it's predictable. And that's really good, because if your preschooler is perhaps struggling with, finding those sight words that they need to learn, or, those smaller words, then they'll just think, oh, I know what's going to happen. Or mommy on the next page is going to yell "Froggy," and they're going to get excited and do it again. So you want to find those books that are predictable as well. That'll also help you if you have a preschooler that's just not interested in reading. Nonfiction. I have a really, really strong passion and love for nonfiction. And the reason being is because you learn so much from them. There's nothing wrong with picture books. Our fiction books also have pictures in them. But our nonfiction books are always going to give facts. And our preschoolers are at an age of asking all the questions. Well, why and how and when? And this is a great opportunity for you to incorporate nonfiction books. And if you're able to add a different language, like the example here you see on the screen today is going to add a book, or encourage you to check out a book that's in English and in Spanish. And this one talks about bears, and it's super fun. Sometimes our kids are curious about different animals, and you can check out age-appropriate books that will keep them engaged and also help them learn. And then interactive stories. If your children aren't interactive and they're just oh, reading is boring, it's probably because they just need a little more movement, a little more action with you. So this one we like to recommend, Down by the Cool of the Pool. It is about a frog and his friends around the pond, and they're just dancing and flapping around. So after each page, there's a new movement that your child is going to do with you and even make the sound. So in this story, frog goes, "Wee!" And so when we read it and they see the frog, all the kids are like, "Wee!" use. So just find moments to make every reading interactive so that they love it and you're fostering a love for reading. Remember, if they see you enjoying it, then they will enjoy it as well. Writing. All right, so this skill is fun. All of our kids love to do some kind of arts and craft, painting, drawing, coloring. When we use writing, we like to focus on those fine and gross motor skills. These are the fine motor skills are the pinching skills, grasping. The gross motor skills are the ones the big muscles are being used. So before children can write, they need to develop muscles in their hands and fingers, and those are going to be those fine and gross motor skills. So they can, scribbles are totally fine. Sometimes the caregiver will look at a drawing that's happened or has been created by the child and is like, well, that's not really anything, but that's a lot, and a lot is being translated through their art as well. So it's totally okay if they're just scribbling and they're not really forming words or anything like that. But the more you do it, the more you'll see them develop this skill. Games and puzzles provide opportunities for children to track objects and their eye coordination. So here we have on the screen some suggestions. It's suggested that you always have like a little caddy. You can buy these at a store, a local dollar store, anything like that. And you can have markers and crayons and any kind of writing tool that you are okay with them having, so that it's just like an open area. It invites them to draw. It invites them to develop those muscles that they have in their hands. Also, if you want them to practice letter writing, one thing that is super fun for them, and then they can explore texture and their five senses, is putting some kind of gel, or sometimes people will even use like ketchup or mustard in a bag and sealing it. And you'll see the picture here. Just with their finger, they can trace the letter. Again, the first letter of their name, or they could also trace a number, anything like that. So you could put some things in a bag. And then the other one is interact with your child while they are writing. I know a lot of times we have excuses. We don't have time, but really they're only asking for 1 or 2 minutes of your time. Get on the floor, do some drawing with them, have some fun with them, interact with them, ask them what they're doing is also a great way to engage them in this skill. And playing. So children learn about life by exploring their senses and imagination. Play helps children develop social and emotional connections with others. This is why when they go into preschool, there are a lot of learning stations, and they put them into groups, and they have to socialize with other people so that they can put into practice the new words that they are learning. Play allows them to practice vocabulary, motor skills, storytelling, and more. And play builds confidence. And this is so important, that we build the confidence of our little ones, that they can do whatever they set their mind to do. And we are their number one fans and cheerleaders in life. So play with your children. Some things that we like to do, if you don't have blocks at home, they can play with anything. Here we have some wooden blocks. Duplo blocks, anything like that is good. Sometimes when we go to the restaurant, we'll play with my daughter. We will play with the egg and salt shakers and like play imaginary play while we're waiting for our food to come. So just encourage them to play, encourage them to look around, and use what they have at hand. Now, we're just coming to the end of our presentation today, but before we do, I do want to share some resources with you. Now, these are resources that you can access today with your library card if you have one. Again, if you don't, feel free to sign up. You can do that online or in person by going to your local library. Here we have Hoopla. And so Hoopla gives you about 5 coins a day or a week, and you can check out books and you can read them on your tablet, on your phone. So instead of having the physical book, you can kind of have like ebooks. You can also do music on Hoopla as well. One of the resources that I used often with my daughter was Tumble Book Library, and these are animated stories. And the stories are not only animated, but they're also captioned. So there's the text is on the bottom of the screen, and so it's great because if you have an eager preschooler who wants to read with the narrator, well, then they can still see the words. And the words are highlighted as well. So it's very interactive and it has some sound effects and it's just a really, really fun time. Then we have Overdrive for kids. And this is, again, another platform where you can download ebooks and you can check them out onto your devices. And Canopy Kids will share your favorite, sometimes TV shows on books or books that highlight TV shows, but it's also animated and narrated as well. So you guys can jot these down and check them out when you have a moment. I would probably start with Tumble Book Library just because it's animated and you can do it on your phone or your computer, and see how your child does with that. It has been such a pleasure to be here and talk to you guys today. We want to open up the floor for questions. If you have any, you are welcome to put them in the chat and ask any questions. If you wanted to hear specific information today regarding our 5 literacy skills, we are happy to cover that today as well. So thank you, friends, so much for watching, and we will bring over our friend Taylor.
Hi, Norlise. Thank you so much. That was a great presentation.
Oh, you're so welcome. It was fun. Thank you.
I definitely learned some new tips when, reading, writing, doing all the literacy practices with our preschoolers. So definitely very informative, very helpful. Caregivers, as Ms. Norlise said, if you have any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. And we do have a few questions for you that we'd like to ask, starting with probably the most difficult question. Do you have a favorite book that you like to read to preschoolers?
It is a very hard question because preschoolers are my favorite. But I do have some favorites. One that I did show today, which I'm gonna grab it here. 2 of them actually. Froggy Gets Dressed and Pete the Cat and His 4 Groovy Buttons. The button pops out every time after every spoiler alert, after every page, and I love to have the kids, and it rolls away. So I like to have them like roll their arms like this really, really fast because the button's gone. So it's just a really good time. And also, I love being Froggy's mom when I read Froggy Gets Dressed, because Froggy's just having a hard time. He's supposed to be hibernating. He's supposed to be sleeping. And mom's like, look, you're just like, okay, fine, I'll let you go play, but we need to get this together. And so mom's always like, Froggy. And it's a really good time. But those are my favorite books. There are so many, many, many more books for preschoolers that are engaging and super fun, not only for the child, but also for the caregiver reading. So yeah.
Definitely. I love those predictable texts, and when you're reading it with your preschooler, they pick up on what's going to happen next because it's repeating, and so they know when the next action's going to come up, and then they get so excited. So definitely really fun, interactive.
Yeah,
All
for
right.
sure.
Our next question is, what are some tips for caregivers to make reading interactive? So like those you just mentioned, do you have any other suggestions for interactive reads with your preschoolers?
My biggest one is letting them choose the book, which was actually in the presentation today, or letting them choose the topic. I think as caregivers and grownups who protect our children and want them to grow and develop, sometimes we try to rush that development in our children, and we want them to be older than what they are. And then they're disengaged. They don't want to read. They don't want to do anything that you ask them to do. And so inviting them, hey, I'm thinking about going to the library today. How about we talk about some topics you want to read about? What's your favorite thing? And if they say dinosaurs, That's the one you need to go in and get.
Always dinosaurs.
Because if you don't, if you don't, then they're just going to look at your book choices like, oh, I don't want to read this. I don't want to do it. So engage your children in from the beginning, from choosing the book all the way to the end, closing the book when you read it. Ask them what topics they want to read on and let them choose. And we're here to help too. When you go to the library, there are librarians and staff that will help you find the books for your kids as well. Just come in with a topic or an author name and we'll help you out.
Absolutely. I love that. That's one of my favorite experiences working at the library is when they come in with that very specific topic and then you give them the book on that topic and their eyes light up. So you know that they're definitely excited to start reading.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. Our final question is school has just started. We're getting back into our routines. We don't have a lot of free time right now. So do you have a go-to literacy practice that you like to use for those busy days?
Talking. Talking is my favorite. In car line, I'm talking. On the way home, I'm talking. While I'm cooking, I'm talking. So talking is so good. And if you think about it, talking kind of like brings all the other skills together. Like, the reading, you're still talking about things that letters and letter recognition and words on the street, signs on the street, in a restaurant, while you're shopping. One of my favorite things to do is actually to talk through my shopping list when I have to go grocery shopping with my daughter. I will ask her, or the other day we went to a restaurant and it was just her and I were having mommy-daughter date. And I said, do you want to play a game? And she's like, yeah. And we had our menus in front of us. And I said, who will be the quickest to find a sight word in the menu? And she was like, challenge accepted. And so I was like, I put a timer on my phone and we were just waiting for, to be helped. And I put a timer on my phone and she's like, and I, just saying all the sight words. And it's just a way for her to find it, have a good time while she's still learning and developing because she has to learn those sight words.
Right.
And talking about them too, like we will talk about what we want to have. That day we talked about what we wanted to have for breakfast and what was going to come on the plate and what she was going to eat. So talking, I find, is the easiest one when you're super busy and you just don't have time to sit or those extra 2 minutes to play with them, which there's nothing wrong with that either. Just make sure you're making time for all of them, which I'm sure all of our caregivers are already doing it. So, yeah.
Right. And it makes it more memorable when you're out at a restaurant and now you're doing this activity together and you're learning, but it's also really fun and a good bonding experience.
Yes. I mean, I would say be careful because now she does ask for us to race to look for sight words more often than I want to. But hey, she's learning.
It's a good problem to have.
She's learning and having a good time with it. So
absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, Ms. Norlise, that looks like all of the questions that we have for you today. Thank you so much for this amazing presentation and sharing all of these great tips for our caregivers to go back and practice with their little ones at home.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day, Taylor. Bye.
You too. Bye. All right, caregivers, we hope that you've enjoyed this presentation, and remember that the library is here to support you. If you'd like more book recommendations, tips, or just general information on Every Child Ready to Read, you can go to ocls.info/kindergarten for more information. We also encourage you to sign up for upcoming events by going to ocls.info/events and seeing all of the programs that we have coming up in the next few days, weeks, months, whenever you're available to come join us. And finally, we would love to have your feedback about our virtual events. You can complete a survey in English or in Spanish by heading to ocls.info/survey. Thank you again so much for joining us today. My name is Taylor. I am your host, and we will see you next time. Bye, friends.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to be the first to find out when we have new fun and informative videos for you. Orange County Library System is your place to learn, grow, connect.